welcome to this week's episode of Top Shelf Dusters. Amanda, it's her birthday today, so she's not going to be here with us. Happy birthday, Amanda, I guess. We've got a lot to go over this week with lots of injuries, lots of trade news. Something about the New York Rangers I wasn't really following at all. My name is Jesse. I'm also joined here with Cass.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened today. Today was a good day for the Bruins. Could be the kind of game that they can swing the season on. So we'll see what happens.
I hope it's not good. And then we're also joined here with Ethan.
Go Stars. That's all I really have to say.
Ethan had a little bit of a trip to go see his Stars play. What was that about?
Yeah, so I went to Utah, went to the Delta Center, and just to make a real short, sweet explanation, the obstructed seats are terrible. The food, the expensive food, is good. The $3 hot dogs, $3 nachos, it's exactly what you pay for.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. $2 water, it's Dasani. And I think for Utah, they're selling out their arena, but they've got so many empty seats because everyone knows they're obstructed. And from everyone I've talked to that lives in the area, they want to go see a game, but tickets are expensive. And that's because it's a bigger arena, but they're selling 60% of the tickets essentially.
Right.
So if Utah could, however they do it, build a new arena, renovate the current arena, whatever, make every seat able to see the full sheet of ice, I think you can build. You could easily build a fan base. They're wild there.
That video or that image that you showed of the obstructed seats, you couldn't see a quarter of the one zone. Like, you can't see the net like we've seen on the pictures that I think we showed on this podcast over in the summer. Really terrible. They got to do something about that. I know that the plan is to get something done there. I'm pretty sure there's like an agreement for that. So I'm sure that's going to happen. Whatever they got to do to get that to happen quickly would be great, because having those obstructed seats, having that obstructed view is not going to be beneficial for them in the long run.
Well, and the crazy thing is, so like I think it was the 2002 Winter Olympics were in Salt Lake City. The 2034 will be there as well. And hockey was played at an arena. I forget the name of it.
Aren't
but it's
they
also where they're
practicing there, right?
They might be practicing.
Oh,
there.
okay.
They also have, I think, an ECHL team called the Grizzlies that play there.
Oh,
so they're familiar with hockey, but the Delta Center was just built for an NBA team. Right. What was funny, and I'll end it kind of with this. We went for warm-ups, and I kid you not, it was 10 different couples walked by us and said they saw we were wearing Star stuff, and they said, "Be nice, be nice to us." And it was like the same line, and you would have thought they were all together. They were not. It was just. I'm gonna have
to go see a Rangers game there then. You did see your Stars. There was some news that came out about Tyler Seguin. What happened there?
Yeah, so getting into the injury news, Tyler Seguin, he's been struggling with this injury for a while. Cass mentioned earlier he has a FAI. What is FAI again?
Femoral articular impingement. Basically, like a ball and socket, it's not a perfect ball, or your socket's not perfect. So when you walk, there's bone rubbing on bone.
That sounds awful.
Playing street
Especially
hockey.
if you're skating.
Yeah, it's not fun, no doubt.
So he's been put on IR. I'm assuming he will be put on LTIR because he will be out 4 to 6 months. Kind of a big loss for the Stars because ever since he's been on a line with Mason Marchment and Matt Duchene, they've been the best line for the Stars since Pavelski has left the team.
He was playing very well for the Stars too. I mean,
him being with those two guys has really rejuvenated his career.
Yeah.
He went through a slump, but he's performing up until now. But it does leave the Stars with approximately $11.8 million in cap space, so might pull a Mark Stone type situation.
What do you think they're going to do to replace him?
Man, It's
You guys
can't
have
replace
depth.
him.
I know. I get that.
The depth is there, but you've got young guys. Last night we played Vegas, and our
Mhm.
young guys really cost us. We went on a 5-on-3 at one point because of
There
the
were a
young
lot of
guys.
penalties in that game.
Yeah, so we do have the depth. It's not seasoned depth, but we'll see what they do. Hopefully, they bolster the blue line at the deadline. But
Yeah. That's unfortunate for Sagan, unfortunate for the Stars. I mean, this is a second hip injury that he's had that has kept him out. It's just hopefully he's able to come back from this, but this is, going to be a really long time that he's going to be out for this team. And they could use him.
I do think it's a bit strategic that they're just doing it now. From what I've heard and read, he's been struggling with this for a while, even dating back to the playoffs, and he's just pushed through. You can only push through so much.
Right? Until it gives.
Now's the time. Do it now.
Yep.
You're ready for the playoffs.
The other thing is, on a personal note, like, I'm glad for him it got diagnosed and he gets the surgery right away. Like, I had my hip problems for a very long time, and I went to go see a doctor, and he told me one thing, and I had surgery where they went in orthoscopically and removed some stuff, and it wasn't the problem. So I don't know if that might have been what his first hip surgery was. Maybe he had it thinking it was the problem, and it wasn't. But I mean, FYI, I went to go see the doctor that did like Patrice Bergeron surgery and shit like that. I actually went to go see this guy, and he walked in. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "I got this." He's like, "FYI, done." He knew right away, just from dealing with it from athletes for so long. Not that I'm an athlete, but
Yeah, but that's why you went to him.
Yeah, exactly. So I hope it works out for Sagan. You don't want to see him. 4 to 6 months is a while. Hopefully, it's on the 4 side, and he's back right on playoffs. That'd be nice for them. Or the Mark Stone first day of playoffs kind of thing.
And on the flip side of the whole surgery thing, thankfully it was like, okay, we know what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it. Versus the Buffalo Sabres, Jack Eichel thing, where it's like you're not gonna do it that way, and that was just ugly.
Yeah, that was what he wanted to do, and the team was like, "Nah, we're not gonna let you do that."
Human rights at that point.
Ridiculous. Anything else about Sagan? Moving on from that. We do also have more news. This one is regarding Vancouver Canucks. Philip Hronek. He's going to be out 8 weeks after having a lower body procedure, according to general manager Patrick Allvin. He will not need surgery on an upper body injury that he sustained in the final minute of a 5-4 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins on November 27th. So that's going to be good news for that. Hronek plays on the top pairing with Quinn Hughes. He has 9 points, 1 goal, 8 assists this season in 21 games. Per the Daily Faceoff, they have slotted Tyler Myers into that first pairing with Quinn Hughes, which I think, a little bit of a downgrade. They could definitely use someone. I think Tyler Myers is a good guy on the second pairing. Quinn Hughes is just a little too fast, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're just, it's patchwork.
Yeah,
essentially.
Yeah,
and it sucks for Vancouver.
They've been doing that all season.
Yeah, since before the season, really.
True.
Like Thatcher Demko was the first domino to fall.
Right.
And it sucks because Vancouver has been built to win, and it's like right when it's time to execute, everyone gets hurt. It's
unfortunate.
The good thing with this is like 8 weeks. Yeah, it's 2 months, but like Demko is coming back. He should be starting his first game tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Because I'm pretty sure he backed up last night. I think they have a back-to-back tonight. I could be wrong.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, Kevin Lankinen has been outstanding for them.
Yes, he has.
He's been saving their season for them. So good on them. I mean, I only want success for Vancouver as much as just the 2011.
Don't say that, please, please.
But no, I mean the team's still pretty sweet. Obviously, they have a couple former Bruins on that team, so as long as they beat the Kraken, that's all that really matters.
Shut up. Let's move on from there to talk about another team that I hate in the Pacific.
Yeah, so Los Angeles Kings center Trevor Lewis is out 4 to 6 weeks with a mysterious lower body injury. That's about all the information they give us. In 25 games this season, he has 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points with a +3. It sucks for him. He has 999 career games.
Yeah.
So, of course, right before his 1,000th game, he gets injured.
Yeah, he got hurt in that 999th. That's unfortunate.
That's nuts. So, hopefully, right around February, he'll get back and get that 1,000th game.
It looks like they slotted in Samuel Hellenius, I think that's how his name is pronounced, into that fourth line to replace Lewis. But Arthur Kaliev was seen at practice for the LA Kings. He was not cleared for contact, but he had a collarbone issue that he was placed on IR for in November. But he looks like he might be coming back soon for them.
They can get healthy, too. They've been way better than a lot of people expected, too.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be where they are. No way.
I think it kind of makes your 1,000th game a little more oomph. It gives it some oomph. Like,
right?
He returns and he plays his 1,000th all at once.
That'll be good. That'll be good for him when he gets back.
To me, it seems like the West has had more surprises this year than the East. With the Wild.
Yes.
The Jets. With
Calgary.
The LA Kings playing the way they are. Calgary. It's good to see that there's some competition. We're not just talking about Vegas, Dallas.
Yeah,
Edmonton,
for sure. Colorado, who has been underperforming.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of another team in the Pacific, Calgary's Justin Kirkland is done for the season due to a knee surgery. He underwent ACL surgery to fix a knee injury he suffered against the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he is out for the year. If you're unfamiliar with Kirkland's story, he was selected in the third round of the 2014 draft by Nashville. He spent the majority time in the AHL, and he was finally able to make it to the lineup for the Calgary Flames, cracked the lineup, and is now hurt. It's unfortunate for that. People love him in that town. They call him Costco. It's his nickname. Hopefully he's able to come back next season for them. Also, this is Calgary's second guy who has had ACL surgery. Anthony Mantha had that earlier in the season as well.
Time to look at the trainer, maybe.
Maybe
look at some conditioning, When you see one injury pop up over and over.
I don't want to talk anything about conditioning. I can barely get up the stairs without dying, so I'm not going to be that guy.
I am ill-conditioned.
In 21 games this year, he had 2 goals, 6 assists, and a +6. So, I mean, considering probably where he was slotted, that's probably not that bad.
And he had some 2 shootout winners, if I remember correctly, and they both were insane. They were highlight reel goals from what I recall. So hopefully they'll be able to get back for them.
So he's out for the season. We talked about trainers, maybe replace the trainer. Patrick Laine, throughout his career, he's taken a different approach. He's said, I'm just going to go to different teams and test their trainers. And it's not worked so far. Patrick Laine spent most of his career thus far with the Winnipeg Jets and was great early on, started suffering some injuries and gets moved to the Columbus Blue Jackets. With the Blue Jackets, he played 45 games, 56 games, 55 games, 18 games, just cannot stay healthy. Then he goes to Montreal and gets injured in the preseason.
A preseason game.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But they waited. He was reactivated, and he has scored in his first 2 games back. 1 goal each. He scored his first against the Islanders on the 3rd, and then another against the Predators on the 5th. So, I mean, seems to be back and clicking. Can he stay healthy?
I did see that it seems like his shot has had 0 poor, I guess,
degradation.
Yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Since he's been out for so long, he didn't really have that training camp. He hasn't played since September. But 2 goals in your 2 games back, good for him, man. I want him to be successful. I want him to succeed in this league, and I want him to be scoring goals. I had him on my fantasy team in the beginning of the year, and I had to drop him because I just couldn't keep him on there. It is what it is. But hopefully he's able to stay healthy, have a good healthy season, score a lot of goals for the Habs. Well, don't do that actually. But he deserves it.
So, speaking about young kids that score goals, Bruins played the Flyers today.
We don't want to hear about it. I'm kidding.
That Mitchkov kid.
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Filthy.
He had 2 goals.
Yep.
He's
filthy.
Sick. And he gets in, him and McAvoy were going back and forth all game. I couldn't believe it for a rookie. The kid was getting in his face, not giving a shit, and he
He's
sniped too.
he's an
Sniped
NHL
too.
rookie. He's played professional hockey.
That's true.
So
Because
I
that's
think
why he'll win.
at where he got drafted, I think it might turn out to be a steal. You know?
Yeah.
And he said, "I won't go there. I won't go there. I won't go there. I have to play in Russia however many years, and now he's over here already." So good on the Flyers. That's the only time I'll ever say those words. But that's it. Just want to take a little tangent.
Getting into the trade news.
A lot of them this week.
Yeah, it was almost like July 1st, all over. Nashville traded Scott Wedgwood, who, as a Stars fan, I really love the guy.
There we go.
I think he's a good goalie. I'm not going to go that far into it. He's good, and he was even good with Arizona back when he played with them and back when they had a team. But they did trade him to Colorado, the goalie needing team, for their up-and-comer star. I'm going to
Justice Anunin.
That guy, and a 2025 sixth rounder. I'm shocked Colorado moved on so fast with Anunin, but
they were probably
Wedgwood's good.
They were
doesn't fix the problem.
They were like, please take Georgiev, and Barry Trotz was like, no.
Well, you've got to think Barry Trotz has some regret about the Askarov trade.
I think he's got a lot of regrets right now that he needs to be worried about, quite frankly.
One of many.
But going back to Wedgwood, he did come in for a game for Georgiev against the Sabres on Tuesday. Georgiev allowed 4 goals on 8 shots in that game. It was not good. It was not a good look for Georgie.
For Georgiev or Forgiev?
Georgiev, I don't know.
You should call him Fjorgiev.
Wedgwood did come into that game and backstop the Sabres, went a perfect 22 on 22 shots, and the Avs came back to score 5 unanswered goals to defeat the Sabres 5-4. The Sabres are just not looking good. They had another bad loss today as well. Wedgwood did get his first start on Thursday against the Carolina Hurricanes, which they lost 5-3. Wedgwood was 30 for 34, .882 save percentage in that one.
I mean, if you're out there watching this or listening to this after we've recorded and you play goalie, just send the Avs an email. You might make
Tyson, you out there? You listening?
The Avalanche cannot, or maybe they can. I don't know. But I don't think they can just lean on their offense and make a cup run.
No way. No way. If they make it to the playoffs, it'll be first round exit. Not with the way that they're playing right now. They need somebody. They need a goalie, without a doubt. And I mean, I guess I wanted Georgiev to be good in Colorado. But I saw this with him when he was on the Rangers. I didn't expect him to be a starter anywhere. And when Colorado picked him up and signed him, I was surprised by that. So,
it gets even more complicated, which this kind of will unravel more in our interview, but
we didn't mention that.
The Avalanche did activate what's his name? Ross Colton from IR, which now puts their projected cap space at negative 7.5.
Nice. They don't need it.
So you've got a real conundrum with your goalie situation, and you really can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're still delusional and thinking Landeskog is going to come back. Because that's another $7 million.
But we will talk about that in our interview later.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Ross Colton was like leading the leagues in goals before he got injured. Like, he had a wicked hard start of the season too.
Yeah.
So,
what other trades do we got, Cass?
Columbus Blue Jackets traded David Jiricek and a 2025 fifth rounder to the Minnesota Wild for Damon Hunt, a 2025 first rounder, 2026 third rounder, 2026 fourth rounder, and a 2027 second rounder.
Damn.
1, 2, 3, 4 draft picks and Damon Hunter go to Columbus Blue Jackets for David Jiricek and a fifth rounder. So I know this kid was drafted very high.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of been buried in the minors. So I think a change of scenery will do well for him. And think about how stacked that blue line is for Minnesota now if this kid actually pans out.
Dude, I mean, but the
Holy
concern for me with that is why has Columbus kept him in the minors for this long? I mean, he has seen 3 different Columbus Blue Jackets coaches, 2 different front office regimes, and they still felt like he wasn't ready to make it in the league. What did they see that caused them to think like that?
Maybe it's more the Blue Jackets suck so much and they always lose. They don't want him to experience the losing mentality. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lake Erie's not horrible down in the NHL.
That's a silly thing to. I mean, that's a silly thing to
You
do.
asked the question.
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying you're silly.
You're calling me like a dumb fuck. It's
Sure. Yes, I'll keep going with that one. But I mean, I don't think that if that's true, if that were the case, I think it would be silly of them to do that, because you see guys like Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard on these teams that are losing, they're not doing well, and I mean, why shelter them from that? They need to know how to lose in the league so they can learn how to win.
I don't know. I take a different approach. I think starting their career losing can be detrimental. I think it just I think your mind has a lot more power than that. Like, if you get accustomed to losing, all of a sudden your drive goes away. If you're on a team like San Jose right now or Chicago, it's hard to see that it gets better from here. And if you look at Bedard's numbers this year versus
they're not
last
good,
year,
yeah.
He has digressed. And so
Sure.
it's a
Send them to the Ice Hogs? Is that who that is? That's who their affiliate is?
in Chicago, yep. We'll go into them a little bit later.
But one thing I will say about Minnesota, I stand firm that Minnesota is similar to Winnipeg. They both had great hot starts. I don't think they keep it up throughout the season. I think they're going to fall at some point. You've seen it with Winnipeg already.
Yep.
Minnesota, it's mind-blowing that they're keeping it up, but I do think they fall off.
I think it's... Sorry, continue.
No, go ahead.
I think it's mind-blowing that they're doing that with $14 million in dead cap still.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And that's kind of where I was going with it. You get all these draft picks. Minnesota's going to be dangerous.
Yes. Yeah.
Very quick.
I mean, they are right now. And they have $14 million coming back to them. I think 13 maybe. Next season, I believe.
15.
Or something like that. It's a lot of money that's going to be coming back to them. So
it's not like a Winnipeg where players don't want to play. It's a destination where players would be like, oh, sure, I'll go there.
Do players not want to play in Winnipeg? They kept Connor Hellebuck. They kept Scheifele.
I meant like free agents more than players.
Okay.
Like, what do they do in free agency, Jack?
Nothing.
Shit, you know what I mean?
That's why they needed to keep Connor Hellebuck and Scheifele.
No, but the flip side of that is another team that I looked at the same way, Nashville, with Trotz getting all these draft picks, and then he does all this crazy stuff in the offseason. On paper, they are great, but will Minnesota make it work? We'll see.
We'll see. There was another trade. Some nobody got traded. Jacob Trouba. I don't know.
Taylor's oldest team.
We'll just move on from that. No, I'm kidding. So captain of the New York Rangers, Jacob Trouba, was traded to the Anaheim Ducks on yesterday for defenseman Uro Vakanainen and a 4th-round pick in the 2025 draft. Trouba has been captain of the Rangers since the start of the 22-23 season, and he got told to go to hell. The Rangers announced that Trouba would not be in the lineup against Pittsburgh yesterday for roster management purposes. We all know what that means. Head coach Peter Laviolette said that the team had decided to move in a different direction. This was a conversation in the summer. We knew this was coming. There's no way to think that it wasn't going to happen. The way that it happened, though, is, in my opinion, unfortunate. I think that they did a really bad job in managing this situation. They kind of pretty much just told him, hey, you're going to take this, or we're going to do what we did to Barclay Goodrow. And, I mean, I have a clip of what Trouba said. I'm going to play that right now, actually.
Your thoughts on how everything transpired with the Rangers?
I'll be honest, I was put in a position this summer to make a decision between my career and my family, and I think I mean, I chose my family. I would choose my family 100 times over again. I don't feel bad about that. I was happy about it. I don't like that it was made public necessarily, or how everything unfolded so publicly. But I mean, I guess that's part of New York and what happens. I mean, it made it difficult to play, kind of with that hanging over everything. And the result is the result, and I guess I'm happy with moving forward. But I'm not overly thrilled with how it went down. I think how it happened, I felt was kind of unfortunate ending to a lot of good times in New York.
When did you kind of get approached by the organization about these trade talks?
Yesterday morning was accept this trade or we're scratching you. I said, okay. And then it was accept this trade or you're going on waivers. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point where I felt comfortable with Anaheim, and that was the place I wanted to go. And yeah, I mean, unfortunate, I think, how it all happened. And I don't know, it's kind of it's a rite of passage to get fired from MSG.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about was we all saw what happened with Barclay Goodrow last summer with the waiver situation. Was that something on the table from the Rangers? Was that expressed to you as a possibility?
Yeah, it was a threat.
So he was asked whether or not the Barclay Goodrow situation was going to happen to him, and he just responded, yeah, it was a threat, and that was it. I mean, come on. Like, how are you going to do this to the captain of your team? That's bizarre to me. Bizarre.
I don't care if he's a captain or a fourth-line player.
Doesn't matter. Agreed.
You have an NHLPA
Agreed.
for a reason. In the next CBA, this should not be allowed. If you have a no movement clause, a no trade clause, they should not be able to circumvent it by threatening to send you on waivers and having a prearranged deal with a team to pick you up on waivers. That's fucking bullshit. That's gutless. Can't expect too much less from the New York Rangers, but that's besides the point. This is the second time they've done this and threatened a player. The first time
in less than a year.
It's so shitty. Just because they don't know how to manage the cap and they have to dump a player. It's not fair to the player. From what I understand, his wife's going in school in New York.
Right.
Now this fucks off. Not that that's the team's problem or anything, but that's why he worked so hard and signed a contract with a no move clause, no trade clause, whatever it was. It's bullshit. It's gutless, and I just hate the threat. Like, I really hope we see some language in the next CBA where this isn't allowed.
I don't disagree with you. It feels very Vegas-like, and I fucking hate it, quite frankly. It's ridiculous. No, come on, man. Come on. You don't think it's anything close to that?
Vegas's problems is it impacts all the teams versus
That's not what I mean. What I mean by what I said is it feels like, Vegas has no loyalty to their players. The Rangers have had loyalty to their players historically, and now all of a sudden they're just like, fuck you, we're done. Bye.
Oh, you mean like revolving door
yes.
type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing, like, the point of it, a lot of times for people with family, wives, kids, the point of the no trade, no move is so they control where they go.
Right.
He lost that control when they threatened to put him on waivers if he didn't agree to go to wherever he was going.
Jesse, who is the Rangers AHL team?
The Hartford Wolfpack.
How far is that from New York City?
About maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours.
So, like, his wife could still do her thing. He could still live in the area.
That's
right?
assuming that he wouldn't get picked up, which I think he would have.
It would have been prearranged for him to get picked up by Anaheim or San Jose or Columbus.
So here's where I'm
or Detroit.
Disagree with both of you.
Of course you are.
There's no way the CBA will be modified to prevent something like this, because in reality, they were within their rights. You are fully allowed to send a player to waivers. Where I think the issue is when Trouba pulls the card of, well, we just started a family. Well, my wife's going to school. There are many NHL players who do these things. They start families. Their families go to schools. It's just... I think Trouba put them in this place when he made his remarks in the summer.
But they also put him in a predicament as well. He had that no movement clause in place for a specific reason, and they just pretty much were like, fuck you, we're not going to oblige that. That's what fucked up. The contract was there.
Was it a full no movement? Or
no.
Did he have a list?
No, there was 15, I think, right now. Went down to 12 in July, coming up July.
So it wasn't that important.
No. Go,
Trouba
Cass.
is still a good player. It's not like they're doing this to a Ryan Johansson where no one's going to want him. They're putting him on waivers for the purpose of another team to claim him. So to me, it's two different scenarios. It's almost like cap circumvention, where you
I wouldn't say
decide just
that.
to dump him. Well, you decide to dump him, knowing another team will take him for nothing. So if they couldn't come to an agreement, he said, "Screw you, I'm not going to go to Anaheim." Anaheim could have kept Urho Vakanainen plus the 4th round pick and still got him for nothing.
But
that's where it kind of pisses me off.
The reason, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't get future considerations for him, honestly, because they wanted to dump his salary and they got the Ducks to take 100% of that $8 million AAV, which is crazy to me. I was expecting some sort of retention from that. To your point, though, either way, it would have happened. So
yeah, it's just shitty. I'm surprised it came out public, to be honest.
I'm not.
From the player's standpoint of Trouba, if it was so important that, well, we're planning all these things, my wife's going to go to school, we're going to start blah 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 blah. You make that contract, no team list, no nothing like that. He clearly was willing to leave New York City if it came to that. And New York had it in their plans that maybe we want to have a contingency plan to move him somewhere. If those 15 teams weren't biting and didn't want to do that trade, this is a way, it's a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it's
was
within
one
the
of those
rules.
15 teams that he didn't want to go to, and that was forced
No,
on
no,
him.
I'm sorry. All the other teams
You know what I mean?
that
I
didn't
don't-
want him.
I don't know if that's
Or
true. I think of
Griffin.
all of
Yeah,
them.
'cause
I think of all of
came
them,
out
though.
that said he waived his no trade clause
Oh,
to go there.
well, then I missed that.
So he was willing to go to any of the other teams, just not those 15. So it wasn't
Correct.
really about staying in New York City as much as it.
Realistically, the relationship between Trouba and the team was severed in the summer. I mean, let's be real about that. And I think that is why the team has been playing poorly over these last couple weeks. I think that this has been hanging over their heads, and it's been expected for a long time, and that caused them to play poorly. And things like that don't just go away. You're not going to just have the locker room just completely forget about everything that happened in the summer, and they're not going to forget about this either. So, I mean, I think I saw an interview where Chris Kreider was like, "Oh, it could be any one of us," and that kind of sucks. That's kind of shitty for your organization to do that. As much of a fan as I am of the team and the franchise, my whole life, you got to do better. It's just terrible to me.
One other thing I'll say is you can't just say New York did this out of spite
No,
because of the following news, which we'll get to later.
no, I don't think it had anything to do with
They freed
it.
up a lot of cap space. It was very strategic in what they did because they're not only able to sign a player who we'll talk about later, but they also now still have 5.3 million in projected cap space. So it's a great business move.
100%.
It's not just I hate you, get out.
No, I get where you're coming from with that because I agree with you. Again, they got Anaheim to take 100% of the contract. Win. Huge win. $8 million is off the books. But
The most
doubt,
damning
the
thing
way
is
it
that it's
went
always
down.
the captain.
right, I agree.
And why are you choosing bad captains where this is always the end game?
Well, I don't think McDonough or Callahan were bad captains. I don't know what the deal was with that. I don't understand why they got rid of them. And I don't think Trouba was really a bad captain either. He wouldn't have been my first choice. But, I mean, I don't know how that goes down. So,
Take a look at the pattern.
I made a meme that said, if you want somebody out of your life, just hope that they become captain of the New York Rangers and they'll be gone very soon.
Imagine a line Gudis and Trouba, though.
Dude, nuts. Nuts. I honestly can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, that'll be pretty funny.
All right, let's move on from this before I flip a lid.
A no-name trade. Edmonton traded Noel Offenmayer to Montreal for Jacob Perreault. Nothing really to add there. Just a couple player swaps. They're not going to do anything this year. Yeah, that's about all I got on that.
Yeah.
Moving on at the same time, I just wanted to give them the airspace.
You're
Go to
next
the
on this
signed,
one.
Fined and fired
Yeah.
list. Edmonton Jeff Skinner gets fined for embellishment. At this point, if he got fined in the season, that means it's his second time doing it. He got a warning earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
I do recall him being an embellishment guy.
He got 2 warnings, I think. He was flagged by NHL Hockey Ops during NHL Game 103 versus Carolina on October 22nd. And then his second citation triggered a $2,000 fine against the New York Rangers on November 23rd.
If I'm not mistaken, for someone who said he looks like a fine guy, Ethan, I think when Joel Kivaranto was on your team, he was well known for doing that stuff.
Really?
So
I don't
yeah,
remember that.
I'm pretty sure.
All we remember him for is being JFK and scoring a hattie against the Avs. No,
Either
Jeff
way,
Skinner.
it's blatantly obvious.
The reason I always remember it is because he's done a lot of training with figure skating coaches, which a lot of NHL players do. He's very good with skates. And so it's always ironic to me when I hear that he embellished because he knows how to skate.
Doesn't know how to win playoff games because he hasn't been in any.
That was the first time I saw that video. I haven't seen the embellishment call until just now. And I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. Moving on from that, there was a signing by the New York Rangers that Ethan alluded to, and I'm sure everyone's friggin' heard about it. Igor Shesterkin signed an 8-year deal, $92 million, 11.5 million AAV on, what was that, today, technically, but it was announced yesterday. This makes Shesterkin the highest paid goalie in NHL in overall salary and AAV. Carey Price was at $84 million contract, 10.5 million AAV. And then Canadians Sergei Bobrovsky, I'm sorry, that's not true. Sergei Bobrovsky of the Florida Panthers, $70 million contract, $10 million AAV. And I mean, I was expecting 11.5. I honestly expected them to do 12. Someone said that he left money on the table. Fine by me. It is what it is. There was no way they were going to let him go anywhere. No way.
Yeah, from what I understand, he took a little less for that guaranteed 8th year. Plus, he loves playing in New York, which I don't know why. If they treat the players the way they treat Trouba,
it's the fans. It's us. He loves us.
11.5 is kind of steep. I don't know if he's $3.5 million better than say an Otter or a Sway or a Sorokin, but
we could argue that
for a couple years down the road when these contracts have kicked in and they've played a couple more years. Maybe year 6 or 7, you might be like, ugh, but
full no movement clause too. So we'll see how that goes. They're probably gonna put him on waivers and tell him to go fuck himself.
To the minors.
Well, he does plan to start a family, and his wife plans to go to school in New York.
Yeah.
No, I think to anyone saying he left money on the table is just thinking from their life bank account. Like, sure, okay, 500,000.
I will take
500,000.
I will take $1 million a year to do anything. You can pay me NHL league minimum, and I will do whatever you want. Whatever you want.
To think he should have stood firm for that extra 500,000. I don't think people realize how ugly that could have gotten. And honestly, I'm shocked he got the 11.5.
I'm not.
That is steep.
I'm not.
He would have held out. Like, you're telling me like a Columbus Blue Jackets or like a Montreal or a team or an Anaheim that's barely hitting the cap. Anaheim has Dostal. But they wouldn't have offered him 12 and a half for 7 years just to get a primetime goalie there. And
Colorado? Oh, no, they couldn't do it.
Kick off their rebuild. Like, Columbus would have done it in a heartbeat.
But just like Trouba, you don't want to go to Anaheim. Nobody wants to go to Anaheim. I'm not saying it was bad on New York, because for New York, yes, you've locked him down. Good on you. But to think that Shesterkin should have asked for more is egregious to me, because that's already steep in my opinion.
Yeah, but God rest his soul. Like, Johnny Gaudreau chased the money to Columbus. Sergei Bobrovsky chased the money to Florida. I mean, it worked for Bobrovsky, but like, players will chase the money. Like, I have no doubt. Yeah, like, Columbus sucks to play in, but like, if it's an extra $7 million, and depending on what the taxes are compared to New York,
yeah, like, which is bad. Yes,
it is something to hard consider. You know,
I think
like, if you're going from, let's see, let's say Utah doesn't have any state tax, and they offer him 12.5, and he got offered 11.5 in New York. That's not just $1 million difference. That's like almost $3 million difference with no state tax. So like, there's a lot to think about there when we talk about him going to lower tier teams that could use a goalie too.
There's no income tax in Washington. You can come to Seattle if you want. Anybody out there?
No, they're hard. They are dead straight with Grubauer and Decord.
Please kill me
for whatever reason. I think those two
Grubauer's got to go.
though, Cass, for Goudreau, he went to Columbus because he wanted to be closer to his family and then be able to come to his games a little bit easier. I think that's kind of a one-off. And then for Bobrovsky,
like, could have went to New Jersey.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got offered.
They didn't have the money for him.
Yeah, you're right. I don't remember that.
He got offered more money in Columbus than other places that were close by, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and so it's best case scenario.
I understand he wanted to be close to family, but
with Bobrovsky, it's also kind of like we saw in the Amazon series with Matty Tkachuk. When he went to Florida, he mentions in an interview that he saw how they were building the team and he saw them as contenders. And I think that was part of Bobrovsky going there as well. If you're between Columbus or Florida and you think Florida is building a good team, why wouldn't you go to Florida? It's Miami, basically.
It worked well for him. He got a cup.
I don't think it's like just going to a lesser team. But
I'm just saying, like, when you look at it and it's only 500,000 or it's only 750, you also have to look at tax brackets and stuff like that. It's not just a physical number that we see.
I will give...
they might kick in a no-trade clause or something, too, when another team won't.
Give me any amount of money. And any amount of NHL money, I'll take it. I'm garbage. I'm trash. But I'll take it.
Equipment managers.
That's fine. Please. That's fine. Just give me a cool 100,000. I'll do whatever you want.
I'll stick the gloves on the dryer.
Sure. Sure. I'll rub your balls with a towel. Whatever you want.
You heard it here first.
Let's move on to another Original Six team.
What a segue! What a segue to Chicago.
Speaking about Robert,
that
was unintentional. I swear.
There's no way you could have done that.
Unintentional. I swear to God.
The Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, I did say that right. Blackhawks. Okay. The Chicago Blackhawks have fired head coach Luke Richardson after his career with Chicago. He won 57 games, lost 118.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
15 in overtime.
Jim Montgomery got fired.
Yeah, why didn't you do this before St. Louis so you could have gotten Jim Montgomery?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Like, what took you so long?
Right. Yep.
Man, it's about time. That's
so they replaced him with, where's his name? Anders Sorensen. I believe he became the first Swedish-born head coach in the NHL, right? But I don't really think that that's going to have any sort of impact on this team's performance. I mean, let's be real. The roster's not made up to compete. So nothing's going to happen from this. Yep. Sure, you said that right that time.
Yeah, I don't think this does anything for anyone. He said his first order of business is getting Connor Bedard back on track. I don't know how that's going to work when the team sucks, but good luck. No one wants to play there. Your organization is trash, just like the Rangers.
I'm shocked it took him so long.
Hey, you shit on the Bruins.
Well, I mean, we do have some garbage Bruins news that we wanted to talk about as well. If you want to take away that, you piece of shit.
And by the way, firing Jim Montgomery and firing Richardson are two very different things.
Yeah, no, I know. I agree.
One worked so far, one hasn't. Congrats to Anze Kopitar today. He's playing in his 1400th NHL game.
Damn.
Wow.
Damn. That's impressive.
A lot of games. First ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt. Would have a couple more Selkies if Bergeron didn't play.
It was coming around.
Yeah, it was coming to the Bruins. Speaking of the Bruins, Sunday, 3 p.m., they had their centennial game, December 1st, against the Montreal Canadiens. It was literally 100 years.
To the day?
Later.
To the day, yeah.
To the day. They beat the Montreal Maroons 2-1 in 1924. It was good to see. They went era by era, parading out all the captains, whether it was the physical captain themselves or a member of their family. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of disappointed to not see Chara there. He must have had a prior engagement. But they did have Bergeron, they did have Marchand come out in the suit, and they all saluted to the fans, and it was good. It was nice to see, all the different generations, especially around here. Like there's so many different Boston Bruins podcasts, so many different interviews with Marchand, Bergeron, Bork. It's nice to see and hear all that stuff, especially from someone who started only following hockey around 2011. So
convenient.
Convenient.
yeah, it is. My brother came back from Iraq, so
Okay, I'll let that one slide. I'll let that one slide.
Okay.
yeah. It was we bonded over when he got back.
He just couldn't watch hockey while his brother was.
Amanda, you could just shut it off.
He came back, He's like, I'm sick of seeing sand. I want to watch a sport with ice. And I was like, okay.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't fucking blame.
Wait, Cass, before you keep going, I do have a question about the whole suit thing, because I saw the clip of them on the ice. Or was that before the game? After?
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking, like, how did he have time to go get dressed for Marchand?
So basically, like, they started the ceremony at 3:00. The ceremony ended around 3:40, and sometime later, the guys came out for pregame skate. Then they had the game. So the game didn't start until almost 4:15, 4:30. So
yeah, because he had to get out of that suit.
3:00. Yeah, at least even though it was listed at 3:00 on the schedule, it wasn't nearly at 3:00. It was nice to see. I had my son come out and watch it with me because I thought it was important to see for him. But no, it was. You don't realize how much history is in 100 years until you see it. They show all the clips, the Bobby Orrs, the Milt Schmidts, the Johnny Busiks, the Ray Bork. The list goes on and on.
So, the drone video that they did that you posted to FTPH was pretty fucking cool too.
I mean, I saw behind the scene clips of. There's one part where Bobby Orr is standing next to the Bobby Orr statue, and the drone goes right in between him. Like, there might be a foot on each side, and they show a behind-the-scenes clip of where the drone does it, and they say cut, and Bobby Orr is like, that was wicked close. It was pretty cool. If you haven't seen that video yet, by all means, check it out. It's on the Boston Bruins X page, but it's phenomenal.
It's also on the Freeze the Puck Hockey Facebook page.
Yeah. Never Ending Pasta posted it. Nice job. 3 posts for the month. Suck it.
You said
yeah, you still have one more to do.
It's okay. I got
for the first time in years. Cass has hit
Settle
3
down.
posts. You said in that first game they beat the Montreal Maroons 2-1.
Yeah.
So I think it's great. 100 years later, they keep the ratio. They beat Montreal 6-3.
Love it.
They keep the 2-1 ratio.
Nice.
So the other thing that was cool is I guess Montreal had their 100th a while ago when they played the Bruins in that game. Obviously, the Bruins didn't play them at 100 years ago because this was their, you know what I'm saying? But, I mean, obviously the rivalry between those two teams, well, not recently because I feel like Maple Leafs are more of a rival than the Bruins right now. But that...
I think Florida...
that too, but...
They're the best
against,
of the 3.
I guess we beat Toronto, you know what I mean? So...
Yeah, it's realistically Florida.
It was cool to see for sure.
Congrats.
I think the Rangers one is coming up maybe next year. I think.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, dude, it's crazy to have 100 years of hockey. Like, just absolutely nuts. Not as much as baseball, obviously, but still, like you said, there's a lot of history in 100 years. Lots of it.
And speaking of captains, Jacob Trouba, all that. I didn't realize Ray Bork was Jacob Trouba, your former captain.
No, don't recall.
Ray Bork was the longest tenured Boston Bruins captain. Does anyone have a guess on how long? How many years? How many seasons?
15.
15 on the money. Good job.
No,
that's a long time to be captain. Never mind just to be on the team, to be captain. It's freaking crazy.
How long has Crosby been captain? Been 18 years?
I would say pretty close.
Yeah, same thing with Ovechkin,
Lemieux
right?
If I'm not mistaken, Lemieux was there when he started, so...
So I don't think it was the full 20.
Yeah.
But I think it's like 17 or 18. It's got to be up there. Amanda, can you check that for us, please? I know you're in the comments. I see you. She's in our chat.
For anyone listening, if you tune
Talk about
in...
not having a life, Amanda. You're out for your birthday and you're still tuning into us.
We'll cover the Dallas Stars 100-year ceremony if you tune in to Top Shelf Dusters season 70.
Yeah, I'll be wearing Depends. We'll be sponsored by Depends.
Crosby's been the captain since the 2007-2008.
So what is that? 15 years? Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Well-
thanks, man. You suck.
That's some fun news. We'll go to, again, not fun news.
Right.
Johnny Gaudreau, obviously he played for the Calgary Flames and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they played their first game against each other in Calgary this past week, and they had a beautiful tribute. I watched this video multiple times and definitely cried.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it. I haven't done that. I haven't been watching much stuff.
Do we have the video for that or no?
I don't,
It's just,
unfortunately.
Vladar.
Yeah.
So if you go and find the video, they do a tribute. His family's there, and then they do the ceremonial puck drop. And I know for sure the Columbus player, I forget who it was.
Yeah,
Monahan.
he was broken up because they played so long
Dude,
together
he
in
was
Calgary.
pouring tears.
I mean, they were together.
It was probably his best friend.
Yeah, they were together for the
no.
entire time, right? Pretty much their whole careers.
But it was beautiful, and the way the broadcast did it as well was nice, because rather than making it like everyone goes to a moment of silence or whatever, but they actually asked the crowd, like, in a moment of, I forget what they said, but something like victory or, make noise.
I love that. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. I
Let's
mean,
not just be down in the dumps.
they had his song Johnny Be Good playing. The cool thing that I liked the most was the hundreds of sticks that were brought out for the massive memorial that they had.
Steps.
Yeah, they took 229 sticks and they made it into benches and donated them to local arenas around Calgary, which is super cool. Super duper cool.
And I believe the puck that they used for the puck drop was a puck left by a young child that she painted, something like that. And that was nice.
They brought out his family, his mom, at least his dad, as the first star of the game, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
One thing I just realized, which really sucks, we were talking about Monahan, how he was like visibly shaken. He signed as a free agent with Columbus while Johnny Gaudreau was still alive. And
to play with him.
Reunited this season. And it's just brutal.
Yeah, it's crappy. The whole situation's crappy. I mean, we'd much rather him be here than having to talk about this. But moving on, in regard to that, there was a Vladar, the goaltender for the Calgary Flames. He had a mask that was made up honoring the Gaudreau brothers. On the right side, there's an image of Johnny Gaudreau and the flaming C logo, which is this one. Sorry. And a wide smile on his face. Johnny's wife, Meredith, picked that photo. And then on the left side, which I just showed, there's an image of Matthew from his own pro career. His wife, Madeline, selected that shot. Really awesome to have that done. It was painted by Calgary-based artist David Fried. And it's going to be auctioned off through the Flames Foundation, with all proceeds going to a charity near and dear to the family. So I love that. That mask is sweet. Sweet.
It's very good.
There's that other shot. Nice.
You said they're going to auction the mask off.
Yes, it's going to
donate it.
Yeah, it's going to go through the Flames Foundation, and the proceeds are going to go to a charity that the family chooses.
So, did he just wear the mask for the one game?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. I've always been kind of curious. Like, obviously they're going to auction off the original, but like, why wouldn't they make a bunch of minis and sell it at the team store? And put those proceeds towards it. Like,
that's a good idea.
That would be cool.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, between Calgary and Columbus fans and just NHL fans in general, if that mask is $50, I'm buying it. You know what I'm saying? So,
you hear that?
I just don't.
You hear that marketing? NHL marketing? Hire Cassidy. No, that's a good idea. I agree.
League minimum. You know what I'm saying?
I'll take league minimum.
Especially if it goes to a charity, like
right.
Those are the kind they always do that too, which I love, like the mask. I don't get it. Which sucks because it would just go towards a good cause too. It's not about making the money per se.
Right, and it's not. We'd rather have those two here with us today. You know what I mean? We'd rather be watching Johnny on the ice, obviously. Yeah. But I mean, You make a good point. Those masks, it is a very nice mask. Hockey fans, I think everywhere would probably want something like that. I know Calgary fans, Columbus fans for sure. So,
College,
yeah, do it.
Players. Yeah. Why not?
I mean, they'd have those little miniature masks on of like that goalie sign, but it has like the team logo on it instead of like custom art. It would be cool to have one of those.
That would be cool.
Grandma. Oh, Jesus, Ethan. You're really aiming.
I don't know what you're talking about. What do we got next?
Four Nations
rosters.
They were announced officially, and Cass's Swayman is listed below my Jake Ottinger. Just for the record, I don't care about the alphabet.
Spoken
Jake
like a true
Ottinger
Texan.
is listed.
A, B,
Okay,
F,
how do you
E,
spell
C,
car?
A,
Do you
D.
spell car C-A-H or C-A-R?
Damn straight. Parking my car in the Harvard yard. Come at me, son.
They won't let you on the Harvard yard.
You're
Cass,
not
come
first,
on.
though. Ottinger's not first either, so...
Connor Hellebuck's going to be first for that team anyway, I think.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we can both have fun watching from the bench.
Sure. I mean, some pretty good choices. They had a lot of good choices for these teams. Well, USA and Canada did anyway. They got Matt Boldia in there, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jake Gensel, Chris Kreider surprised me. Kreider didn't surprise me. Having two dudes from the Rangers, because they also picked up Trocheck for this, kind of surprised me. And they have Adam Fox as well, so 3.
I think USA is the team to beat on paper.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
They've
Their
got
goal-
great guys.
Their goaltending alone is going to be something that's going to be difficult to get through.
Yeah,
In 5 years,
and the defense.
this
is
team's going to
great.
be fucking stacked. Like, this is a pretty young team, all things
We're going to
considered.
talk about that, Kat. We'll get there. You said no Keller, no Tage.
5 years, and all these players will be that much older and that much better. I think they're going to wipe the floor at the next, not this coming 2026
The Olympics?
Olympics, but 2030 Olympics. They're going to wipe the floor with everyone.
I think in 2026 even.
I
Maybe,
agree.
yeah, possibly.
I mean, especially if Thatcher Demko really does return to form.
Yeah,
I
and-
don't know that he will, but
And then Ottinger's out for him. Yeah, agreed.
We all know.
Okay.
We do also have Team Canada. That was all of them were announced. No surprise that Crosby's on this list. I mean, they announced these guys a couple weeks ago. The whole list just came out this week. Jordan Binnington as the goalie. I don't think that's much of a surprise. Sam Montembeau's
All the
more of a
goalies.
surprise.
The goalies, that's their downfall.
Yeah.
It's I was interested to see what you guys think. Since Crosby is playing in this, do you think he plays in 2026?
100%.
I think if he's
Absolutely.
I think so.
Wow.
I think it would be weird to not have him on that team.
But do you want to win or do you want to honor?
Well, let's see how he does this first.
They're becoming
He's
the
not like
Penguins.
Pavelski. He's still nasty. dude.
If you But I mean, Team Canada
No.
seems to. There was an article that I read earlier this morning about Team Canada and how like they chose Sam Montembeau for what is perceived to be political reasons because he's a French Canadian. So I mean, they'll do what they need to do because the guy's the face of Canada right now, aside from Connor McDavid. So it doesn't surprise me that they'll
look
put him
at
in
it
there.
through a different lens. Come 2026, Crosby will be coming up on the end of his career.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
If you are Crosby, do you want to win another cup with Pittsburgh or do you want to win another medal with Canada? If you had to choose. I'm not saying you have to, but
I
it
was gonna
goes
say,
to
what
like
one thing have to do with the other? Like,
well, I'm
Still an
referencing
elite
your
presence in
thought
the league.
process on Don Sweeney in being a GM for Canada and for Boston. Like you've got to prioritize one over the other. And I think as you get older, this is a lot of playtime where you could actually just rest to compete
but-
in the NHL.
I don't think it is because usually during a regular season they're playing those 2 weeks. So if he's not on the team, he's sitting around for 2 weeks.
No,
So-
I get that, but wouldn't you want to rest, especially if you're an aging NHL player?
I don't think so. I think it's more important to represent your country at an international tournament.
So you think if he had to choose between the two, he would
I think
choose
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Olympics?
absolutely.
What do you think,
The
Jesse?
other thing is like, do you think? Oh, Jesse, you can answer before I throw my question in.
No, I think that he would choose to play if he wanted to for an international tournament. I mean, if I were in that boat, if I had the luck, if I was blessed enough to be in that position, I would want to do that too. So,
I think he has a better chance at winning a medal than winning another cup with Pittsburgh.
agreed.
I think that's yeah. Two questions. Number one, I thought Cale McCarr couldn't be in any of these tournaments.
For the Olympics.
Okay.
Olympics
Number-
are IIHF, and that's where he's banned.
Number two, along that same vein, if Carter Hart wasn't in the situation he was in, do you think he'd be in Sam Mountain Ball spot?
Well, if he wasn't in the situation that he's in now, he probably wouldn't. I mean, he'd have a contract, so yeah, 100%.
I think he. Well, if they really did pick him for being French Canadian, I think he'd actually have Aiden Hill's spot.
What about how come? I'm kind of surprised. Like, isn't Marc-Andre Fleury French Canadian?
Yes.
Like, I'm surprised Mountain Ball got that spot over Fleury. Fleury's been playing pretty damn good this year too.
Did you see that really soft goal he let in?
You have a hard
against
on for
Edmonton?
anyone over 38 years in the NHL after defending Pavelski
I just
for
asked,
the last how many years?
Have you seen the soft goal he
No.
let in against Edmonton?
No.
Where like
Oh, yes, I
Draisaitl
did. I did
flung
see
it
that.
down the
Yes.
ice, and
Yeah.
it just went. He whiffed on it.
Happens.
We do have two other teams to go through. Anyone else have anything about Canada?
Mark Stone's probably just going to go to LTIR, so he
Yeah,
probably won't
he's gonna
actually play.
he's gonna come right back.
That puts him in a pickle.
We've got Team Finland. There's really no surprises on this. On Finland and Sweden, there's really no surprises on any of these. Capo Kakko of the New York Rangers got thrown onto there. Patrick Laine, Arturi Lehkonen, Sebastian Aho, of course, Alexander Barkov. These are the guys that you think of when you think Finland and NHL.
Mikko Rantanen.
Patrick Laine, they have had faith that he'd be healthy. Good on them.
Yeah.
I guess what else do you choose? But I think the defense is stacked. Unlike some people will say later, I think they've got a great defense.
Yeah, Ollie Mata screams great defense to me too. Yeah,
Okay, you can't have just superstars everywhere.
it's just because they have two stars players. You think like, oh my god, they have a great defense.
Ristolainen.
Ooh, Ristolainen or Ristolainen?
Ristolainen, whatever. I can't. It's small for my screen.
Sure. Yeah. And then we've also got
Hakanpää. That's another one that's interesting.
Ooh,
Is
Tom
he
brings
healthy?
up a good point going back to Canada. Logan Thompson should be in that spot.
don't disagree there. We've also got Sweden. They're the last of the four nations to have announced. Well, actually, they were first to announce their roster, but the last one we're going to talk about. They've got guys like Philip Forsberg, Adrian Kempe, Joel Eriksson, Gustav Nyquist, which he's been having a year in Nashville. Elias Lindholm, Victor Arvidsson. If he's able to come back, is he back yet? Arvidsson?
No.
I thought he was on IR. On their defense, they picked up Carlson for whatever reason. They've got
already picked.
Oh,
For the
was
power
he?
play.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I haven't really been following this too much, to be quite frank with you. Their goaltenders, I think they're very weak in their goaltenders, and as you said, Ethan, in their defense.
No,
I'm
I
kinda-
wasn't saying Sweden's weak.
Oh,
I
I don't know. I guess I
Finland,
misunderstood
don't think
you.
it- but for Sweden, I do think Sweden has a better defensive front. I mean, you've got the guy there, the face, Victor Hedman,
Sure.
amazing defenseman. Carlson's maybe the one question mark, but again, the power play, according to Pittsburgh fans. Ekholm, Anderson, Dahlin, I think it's a good defense. And I kind of disagree about the goalie situation. I
Okay.
think it is a good goalie situation. Specifically Markstrom and Olmark.
And Gustafsson.
Gustafsson deserves it, I'd say.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they're all good. I would just put those two as the main two for me.
Honestly, I mean, coming from a Bruins point of view, I don't know he would take off. I'm just kind of surprised Hampus Lindholm isn't on that list.
So there's actually a couple people that aren't on these lists for all of these teams. What other snubs do you have?
Many couples.
Yeah. What other stubs do you have, Cass?
I mean, we can go down the Canada list. I sent it in the group chat of like, you could basically come up with a second team for Canada.
Where in
Let's
the group
pick
chat?
one. Let's pick one per team.
Sure.
If we have them.
Sure. Let's start off with the U.S. And I will go first. I'm probably going to go with Cole Caulfield. He's been having a pretty good season despite being on the Montreal Canadiens. Kind of surprised that he wasn't picked for U.S.
Ethan?
Okay, so I think it's a snub, but I like it. Jason Robertson.
Deserved.
He seemed like a sure fit, but the way he's played this season has essentially escorted him off of the list, and I'm all for it, because if that means it lights a fire under his butt, great.
He needs it.
Go for it. I think you will see him on the Olympic roster.
Yeah, so who do you got?
So this might seem kind of stupid. Oh, I like that too. Tom just said John Carlson. I mean, their lineup is stacked, but Frank Vatrano did have a couple good years. You know,
Not doing too hot this year, though.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how well
From a
he's
fantasy
been doing.
standpoint, he's
Oh.
doing all right.
That might be my pick there.
Sure.
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I haven't really got a chance to.
The other guys that I saw, and Kat mentioned,
Keller.
yeah, Kat mentioned something in our chat. Clayton Keller, Tage Thompson. There's also Jake Sanderson, Joseph Wall that could have been mentioned as well. But then we also have Canada. I mean, Bedard obviously is probably the most glaring off this list. But I'm gonna go with
He'll
Evan
be in the
Bouchard.
Olympic one.
Yeah, for
He'll be
sure.
in the Olympic roster.
I'm going to go with Evan Bouchard. I think that he's been playing very well, and it's surprising to me that he hasn't made this list either.
I think for me, yeah, I'm going to be a homer.
Shocking.
The way Mason Marchment's been playing is
Sure.
great.
Agreed.
And if you don't like that pick, Matt Duchene, his game he's back.
Two
Tyler
stars,
Seguin,
huh?
He should just be limping out there with ice packs on his hip. The way Ethan rolls,
If Mark Stone can play, anyone can play.
right? I know he's had a slow start to the season. I'm surprised Zach Hyman isn't, just for the pure
Oh yeah.
fact that he has chemistry with McDavid.
Yeah, that's definitely surprising too. Sweden. We've got a couple guys on that didn't make that list. For me, I'd probably go with William Eklund. I mean, I understand that you can't have all these guys on your team. I understand that you got to make lines that are going to play hockey, but a lot of good guys got left off of these rosters. What about you, Ethan?
Let Cass go first because I'm looking.
Sure.
I've already said I had
Hampus Lindholm. Yep.
Oh, Ethan, hurry up.
There's also Ricard Raquel, Mikhail Bjacklund. Yeah, those are two other guys that were mentioned as well.
Anyone that I would think should be there is there. It's
Mhm.
literally all the way down to Lucas Raymond. I think same for Finland. I think Sweden and Finland, it's the right list.
I could agree with that. For Finland, I saw there were a couple people mentioning Korpisalo not getting into the goaltending. I don't think that
No.
he had a snowball's chance in hell, quite frankly. Jesperi Kotkaniemi, I could see an argument for him. And then also Yoki Haru was also mentioned in an article that I read. Jesus, that's the word I was looking for.
See, I would be curious if Lankinen didn't have the start he did this year. Because he has been a career backup. Like, I would have been interested to see if Korpisalo made that list. I mean, the kid has been playing lights off this year, so 100% he deserves a spot. I'm just curious if Lankinen was basically buried in Nashville last year, right?
Yeah.
And he came out, obviously, guns blazing this year, so good on him.
He has been playing well.
In regards to the Logan Thompson pick, I think Logan Thompson is better than Aiden Hill, and that applies to the Vegas Golden Knights as well. I'm still shocked that they kept Hill over Logan
Agreed.
Thompson.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Imagine getting traded while you're doing a autograph signing for the team that you got traded from.
Robin Leonard should play.
Sure. Bring him back too.
Still getting paid.
Not counting towards their cap.
Who was the team who had the most? I forget. I saw something.
I didn't see that. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
About it too. Florida had the second most, I think. I'm not mistaken.
Amanda, can you look that up?
Sure. And while she does that, I'm actually really excited about this. I usually don't care about
Panthers.
Okay. I usually don't care about the All-Star game, but it's going to be awesome to see some, best on best in a tournament style like this.
Attempts.
Right. Yeah. It's the first time that they've done something like this in a long, long, long time. Very excited about it.
Sucks that I have a wife and kids. Don't clip that, but I can't afford to go to the games.
This is live. Everything you say is going out, and I'm not
Title
editing
of
it.
the
Listen
episode.
anymore, so I'm good.
Sucks that I have wife and kids.
I'll make sure to send it to her. I'll clip
You're
it out and
burning
I'll
on
send
my
it right
life.
to her.
You know what's funny? One thing
A burden on his life.
what I have to say. It's funny because do you guys remember when the All-Star break tried to encompass this whole nationality way
I don't
of doing things?
because I don't fucking
Where
watch it.
I don't know if it was an All-Star. They had a North America versus.
Yeah, that was the World Cup of Hockey. I think it was. I want
Oh,
to say it was in 2016 because they had a North American team where anyone under the age of, I want to say 21 or 23, Connor Bedard played with. I'm sorry, Connor Bedard. Holy shit. Connor McDavid played with Austin Matthews. They were on the same team because they were on the North American team. It was wild.
it's almost like that was a prototype to set this whole thing
was
up,
great.
and I'm excited to see
Yeah.
how it goes. I really hope it's successful. I hope it's not what people think, like a blowout for one team. I hope it's really competitive, and I think it will be.
I think it will be too. The one thing that I'm concerned about is potential injuries coming from this. It's going to be three? I think each team plays 3 games. Is that right? I don't remember the layout.
3 games and then playoffs.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah.
But
But thankfully,
each
it's
other
very. They're very close. It's not like they're doing a ton of travel. They're very
True.
close locations: Boston, Montreal.
sure.
Now, Jesse, how's it going to work with you with it being earlier in the day for you? Is you going to still be able to watch them?
What time does it start? I have no idea.
I didn't know
Honestly,
there
a
were
lot of them
times.
start at 7. So, oh yeah.
I
I
mean,
know
if
the ones.
if they're starting at normal puck drop time, I watch all of those games. I mean, I'll watch it anyway. I have a phone. I could figure
Not
it out.
like a 12 p.m. Winter
Right.
Classic.
Right. If
East
it was,
Coast
yeah,
time.
if it was at noon, or I mean, there was that Kraken game that started at 2 p.m. here, their home opener earlier this season. That sucked, even though I went to it.
Their home opener was at 2 p.m.
Yeah, because they had cascading national broadcasts, and they started with Seattle for whatever reason.
Oh.
2 p.m. puck drop here, 5 p.m. over in the East Coast. Definitely for
One of them
television.
was 1 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, a couple of them are 1 p.m. because
What
that
days?
Monday's a holiday weekend.
Oh, it must be
Monday,
nice. Not for me.
President's Day.
Not for me.
You
Must
have to
be nice.
celebrate the presidents, Jesse.
Right?
All of
We
them.
don't get political.
Yes, let's not. Anyway, we do have our interview still that we want to air. So we've got our interview with Evan Rawal. He is the Avalanche beat reporter for the Denver Gazette. We thank him very much for his time in doing this. And we're just going to cut right to that then.
So tonight we are very grateful and thankful to welcome Evan Rawal, who is a reporter for the Avalanche. He writes for the Denver Gazette. So thank you, Evan. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And so I'll go ahead and start off the questions. We'll keep it kind of easy since this is the big news coming out right now. The 4 nations rosters were announced. The Avs had their 4 players selected. Do you think there was anyone from the Avs who was snubbed, who should have been on one of these teams?
No, I think everyone who was supposed to go got picked. I think Middlestead might have been the only one that maybe had a shot, but I think he was a huge outside chance of that. So the only one I was kind of surprised, Taves has been playing hurt all year, and I was wondering if that was going to maybe keep him off the team. But I guess they name him, and then if it is an issue still down the line, they could potentially take him off. But I don't think there was anybody that was left off that should have been there.
I agree.
That seems to be, from what I was reading and looking at like the Avs roster, that was a sense I got as well.
Yeah, they're pretty. 5 guys is a lot already. So
Yes.
For sure, yeah. Especially with, I mean, the Avalanche have such a star-studded roster. These guys, you would expect them to be on some type of international team like this. So Valeri Nichushkin, he's been back with the Avs for a couple weeks now. He was on the Players Assistance Program for the last 6 months. Do you feel that his return has revitalized the team in some capacity? What do you think having him back means to the Avs?
Well, it's big to have him back just because he's an irreplaceable player. Like, you can't just go and find a elite two-way winger like that on the open market, especially for how much he makes. So it's big to have him back. I think he's still kind of getting his legs under him. You can still kind of tell he didn't have training camp, and his hands and his legs aren't fully there. But he does make a difference most nights because he plays everywhere. He power play, penalty kill, even strength. He's everything. So as far as revitalizing the team, I don't know. Every time it seems like this team's going on a run, they go into a losing streak, and then, they're just kind of a roller coaster right now. Sometimes in game, like just last night.
Oh my God!
It's very difficult to tell with this team right now where they're at.
What a game that was too last night. It was nuts.
Yeah, that's one. There's been a lot of their games. They're not good starters, but they're never out of a game.
They sure know how to score too, which obvious.
Yeah, and Buffalo knows how to.
New York teams in general, it seems.
So they know how to score, but what's going on with the goaltending? Is Georgiev really that bad? And then were the Avs really in on Ullmark, or is that just smoke?
I had kind of heard at the deadline last year they were interested in Ullmark, but I think Ullmark's thing was that he didn't want to come out west, so it just ultimately didn't matter. So I think he had blocked any teams from the west he was just going to say no to. So they might have been in on him, but I don't think it was ever going to happen. And Georgiev he's not good right now. Just when it seemed like he was kind of getting his feet under him, and in November it just fell apart yesterday. So they've got the worst save percentage in the league. They traded a Noonan for Wedgwood, but it's going to come down to Georgie until he can kind of figure things out, or they make another trade. But right now it's not good, and it's kind of been a full year of this wild inconsistency, whereas his first year with the Avs, he was really good. But
yeah, he was.
Since the start of last year, it's just been wildly inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get on a nightly basis.
Yeah, and we've talked about it a lot on our podcast on the Avs goalie situation. Like, that's kind of the piece. And it's not just the Avs. There are teams like the Carolina Hurricanes, which Amanda's a big fan of. There are some teams that you just need that goalie piece, and then all of a sudden, boom. And so last week, I believe it was last week, the Avs got Scott Wedgwood, which I was a fan of him when he was in Dallas. Great guy, great goalie, especially when he's not leaned on too much. What's the temperature like in just, I guess, your field and also maybe the fans' field on Wedgwood? And then do you think it kind of solves the problem, or do you think it's just like a Band-Aid?
I think it solves the issue of the Avs have had just unproven guys behind Georgiev the last 2 years since Pavel Francouz got hurt and wasn't able to continue his career. So they get a veteran who might be able to help out in the room, as opposed to like a Noonan or a Ivan Prosvetov, who just talented guys but just aren't consistent, or you don't know what you're getting from them, and they're still figuring it out in the NHL. So you get that. He's a good room guy. I mean, he's been a backup for 5 or 6 years now and seems pretty consistent, I guess. But I don't think there's any sense that this is solving the issue. I think this is more like, well, we got to make one move and we'll see about the rest. So it helps in some sense that they get a veteran back there that kind of understands this role, but I don't think it solves anything. Last night was a good start, but he's still got a ways to go.
And it's tricky because the comparison for all these teams and fan bases is look at the Bruins when they had Ullmark and Swayman. It's like we want that. That's like a
Impossible.
pipe dream. Yeah. And so it's a hard situation for a lot of teams. And I think the Avs, if they make some kind of move and get a goalie really hot, man, they could go on some runs.
Yeah, and I think I wrote about it this weekend that NHL goaltending is as bad as it's been in 20 years right now. Like the average save percentage, I think, is .901 right now, and that's what it was coming out of that first lockout when they were just giving power plays out for like candy. So goaltending, like everyone's, I guess, just got to recalibrate their brain about what's a good goalie right now. And there's only a handful of teams that should truly feel good about their goaltending. And I know the Rangers are going through it right now, but they're one of the teams, and you got the Jets.
Not his fault.
You got the Stars. Like there's really only a handful of teams that have that number one guy that you can feel good about, and then everyone else, it's like, okay, well, like with the Avs, like okay, you could trade for a goalie, but who? Like, do you really trust that any of these guys are true upgrades?
So I was thinking about that question too. I was listening to the radio earlier, and they were mentioning John Gibson, and I know his contract's a little high. I think it's $6 million off the top of my head, but I think he's still got some good games left in him, and I think that maybe he could be a potential target for the Avs.
Yeah, his name has been thrown out for years by Avs fans. My issue with him is that he's just been bad for like 5 years now, and you can only blame the Ducks so much. Like.
That's true.
Dostal right now, like he's doing well, and he's playing behind a terrible team. So, and the whole thing is now he's 30. He's super injury prone. Is he suddenly going to just turn it on when he's on the Avs? Like you just never know. Like, and maybe that's just a risk they're going to have to accept if they're going to trade for a goalie that they just are betting on that the guy from 5 years ago shows up. He's a name, and I guess Mackenzie Blackwood is the other name that constantly gets thrown out.
I was going to ask because I thought I read somewhere that you're a fan of maybe bringing Blackwood in at some point.
Well, he's relatively cheap as far as like money goes, so they can fit him in the cap, but also his underlying numbers are pretty good, and they were rumored to be after him last year a little bit. So he's somebody that makes sense, but all of a sudden the Sharks are doing decent. So I'm sure that they're not like, oh, we're going to be going on a run here, but
right.
It feels like it would actually cost a fair bit to acquire him because he's not super expensive, and teams want guys that they don't have to pay a lot of money for.
And they have Askarov too, so they can get rid of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why his name is constantly thrown out, so we'll see.
So I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here because we started talking about trades and stuff, but after the Avalanche won the Cup in 2022, they promoted Joe Sakic to president, and Chris MacFarland was named the GM. Do you feel that the team has taken a step back since Chris MacFarland has been named GM?
I would say yes, but I think that was also bound to happen because guys had to get paid. Nathan McKinnon needed a huge contract. And also, like, when the Avs won the Cup, they just had the perfect contracts in place. Like, McKinnon was making nothing. Rantanen was making a good deal. Kadri was on a cheap deal. Taves and all those guys. So it was just natural that as contracts started to come up, you can't keep all these guys. So Chris MacFarland is not, like, Avs fans are pretty tough on him right now, but, he was a huge part of building that Cup team.
Yep.
And now he's got the job of trying to piece together a team with a cap that has only risen this year. Like, he had a stagnant cap. He couldn't really do anything. And now he's got to pay Mikko Rantanen and all these other guys. So it's tough to build a team when you have all these stars that are making money, and you don't have, like, you traded away a bunch of assets to win the Cup and it worked, but now you don't have a ton of young talent to deal around or assets to move in big trades.
Speaking of Kadri, ever since he walked in free agency, it seems like the Avs have struggled to find a second-line center. They brought in Johansson the other year. That didn't really work out. They traded for Middlestat. Do you feel like he's done a good job filling the center role on the second line?
I do. He's slumping pretty hard right now, but for the most part, he's been really solid, especially in the playoffs last year. He was great for a guy who'd been in Buffalo, had never sniffed the playoffs. So you kind of learned a little bit about him. Nathan McKinnon loves him. Like they're always working in practice, just the two of them together. So I think he's doing well. He'll figure it out eventually. Like he's just in a slump right now, but he's a good center. He's cheap. He's cost controlled now for a few more years. He's exactly kind of what they needed after trying to force JT Conference to being a second line center and then going and taking a chance on Ryan Johansson that just failed miserably. So he's exactly what they needed. And, I think he's a really good 2C. That's why he's not a 1C. He's not super consistent.
Mm-hmm. And then when acquiring Middlestat, the team gave up Bowen Byram. Do they miss him at all on the blue line? I know they're pretty stacked, and I know he was a younger prospect who had some lingering health issues. I believe it was concussions, and obviously he went to Buffalo. But do they miss him back there as much as they thought?
I think they missed the Bowen Byram that was in the 2022 playoffs because that's the best he ever played. But he was never that guy the next year or the year after. So I don't necessarily think they missed him because he just didn't perform super well. And then they just had, when you got Cale Makar, Devon Taves, all those guys, like you have a surplus of assets on defense, and they moved it for a need at second line center. And it's not that he's a bad player. They actually like him a lot. It's just that, both teams want something in a trade, and Buffalo wanted him back. And that's how it was. So the Avs, Sam Malinsky has come in and played really well this year. So I think they've kind of filled the role.
It's kind of like the Tim Thomas situation where it's like he played really great that one year. He played out of his mind. And then it was just like that one time kind of thing for the Bruins.
Yeah, and they had Tuukka Rask just waiting too. So like whenever you have depth, you can always – that's where you use your surplus to fill the rest of the team. Yeah.
Kind of shifting into it wasn't really with you guys, but was it the Flyers? I think it was the Flyers. Johansson, his contract got terminated, and then there was this whole beef about I forget how they titled it. Does anyone remember? It was something like
it was material
breach.
Material breach. Sounds right.
Something like that.
Yes,
so
material
the
breach
main
is what it is.
The main question for you is like, do you know if he had those injuries before he was traded, or do you know anything about the mystery of that?
I don't, because he never missed a game with the Avs. Like he was even at morning skate the day he got traded. So like 20 minutes after we walked out of the locker room, he was traded. So he was planning to play that night, as far as I know. So maybe he was playing through something. I really don't know, but he had never missed any games. So I think that's kind of probably where I'm assuming the beef is coming from. But I mean, I don't know. I think the Avs were just. I don't think Philly necessarily ever planned to play him. I think they were just taking that because the Avs needed them to take money, and then the Avs gave him a first just to take that contract, essentially. So, but as far as I know, he wasn't hurt. He like I said, he never missed a game with the Avs, which is kind of what's crazy.
Yeah, that whole story is just mystifying because they just randomly went into that.
Yeah,
that whole contract thing, and maybe there's a legal battle coming, but who knows?
There is. It's through the NHLPA. They went ahead and filed one back in September because he's due his last year on the contract.
Yeah, there it is.
So after their impressive come-from-behind victory last night against the Sabres, the team showed that they have what it takes to win, especially in regards to coming back when trailing. Goaltending aside, do you think there's anything they need to do to get trending in the right direction, a trade that they have to make, or a player that you've heard they targeting right now?
Wish list. Give us your wish list.
I don't know about wish list. I mean, we don't know what this team looks like healthy. Like even excluding Landeskog, like they just haven't been healthy this year. So if they ever get guys back, like this is a pretty good team, like a really good team, even with bad goaltending. I think the one thing I would wonder about is a third line center because they seem pretty happy with Ross Colton and how he played on the wing. So I think they would like to keep him there. I think of a guy like Yanni Gourde in Seattle that could potentially make a lot of sense for them.
I would give them some grit.
Yeah, so I think he makes sense. He would cost a lot. But beyond goaltending, I think third line center, and then teams are always looking for like an extra defenseman in the playoffs. So those are the two things that come to mind. I think third line center would be somebody, especially a guy like Gord who can win faceoffs and kill penalties.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna anger some Seattle fans with that, even more so than the whole Cale Makar thing. So I like that one a lot.
I mean, I would like to, I don't think they're. I think they know they're probably not going anywhere this year.
We know. You mentioned Landeskog. He's been out since they won the cup. Is there any indication at all that he's going to be coming back? What's the vibe around the story with him?
It went from optimistic to like nothing.
Really?
So in the summer, Jared Bednar told the media that the hope is that he'd be back early in the year. And then no one saw him skate during training camp. No one saw him skate for the first month of the season. And then they kind of announced that, he took a break from skating. And they didn't want to call it a setback, but it sounds like that's what it was. And I think I've only seen him skate like once or twice since they said that. So I don't really know what's going on, but it just doesn't sound good. And I would love to see him come back because a healthy Gabe Landeskog was an incredible hockey player. But, even if he comes back at this point, you don't know what he is.
Right.
If he comes back, salary cap is just a disaster. I think they'd have to dump somebody just to like get him back in the lineup. And then also there's the thing of like, well, he could come back, but like, is he going to get hurt again? Like,
right.
And I think Lonzo Ball in the NBA had the same injury, and he came back and he hurt something else because your body's compensating at that point. So there's just a lot of question marks around it. I haven't really heard anything, but it just doesn't seem super positive at the moment.
I think I recall maybe like a week or so, or maybe 2 weeks, maybe even longer than that. Time's just been melting into each other. But he had been on the ice, I thought I saw recently. Mm-hmm. So that's good to see, but it's definitely unfortunate to hear that there's really no optimism in that. I don't want to say no optimism, but the optimism's a little bit low in regards to him coming back because, like you said, he's a great hockey player. He was amazing during that Stanley Cup run, and the Avs could definitely use him back with everything's going on right now.
Yeah, especially in the room, they would want their captain back. It's a terrible situation all around, and I think the unfortunate part is that business is probably going to come into play here. Where
of course,
Farland's probably got to say, "Hey, this is the deadline. Like, if you're not back, I have to assume that you're not going to be back in the regular season." And then at that point, are you really going to, if he comes back in the playoffs, throw a guy who hasn't played a real hockey game in 3 years into the playoffs? Like, it just seems tough.
It's not to go without saying, like, hockey players, they play through crazy injuries. Even like if a player like Landeskog is out like he's been, that's serious. I don't think people really understand how much hockey players play through.
He wants to be
and
there.
I think, yeah, and I think the Amazon series that they did, the Face Off Inside the NHL, that really highlighted that a little bit. Do you think it's going to become like a Carey Price thing where he's just sitting on LTIR for the rest of his contract and that's it? Or do you think they actually go the extra step to buy him out?
No, I think it would definitely, if it comes to that, he's going to be the Carey Price where they just, because these guys aren't going to retire. Like, they're just going to go off, take the rest of their contract and be on their way. So they would never buy him out. Like, he just means too much to the franchise, and they'll just kind of handle it that way.
Now, here, one more little follow-up about Landeskog.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, as a Stars fan, obviously I hate the Avs, but I've always, and on our podcast, I've talked about this, how I really think Nathan MacKinnon should get the captaincy because Colorado needs a captain. Like you mentioned, they've been without a captain. He's a presence, things like that. If Landeskog goes into the fields, do you think they make a quick C transition?
I think if they named a captain, I don't think it would be Nate. I don't think he wants to be captain.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
He doesn't love talking to the media. I don't think he wants to really do that. Like, he's more of like a, I'm going to lead by example type guy. I think it would be Makar if it was anyone, to be honest. With maybe like a, just throw an underdog in there for like Devon Taves, who's a big vocal piece in that locker room. But I think it would probably be Makar if anyone's named captain. I just don't think, unless Nate changed his mind, like it just doesn't seem like he wants to be captain. I think he just wants to be what he is right now. And like when they signed, like Landy was moments away from hitting free agency before they won the cup, and Nate joked like, "Thank God he came back because I didn't want to be captain." So like, I don't think he wants to be captain.
And he doesn't need to be either. Like you said, he leads by example every time he's on the ice. I have him on my fantasy team, and his points are insane. So
congratulations.
Thanks. Thank you. I need it too. I'm losing right now. But yeah, shut up. But I've heard too that he didn't want to have that sort of captaincy pressure on his shoulders as well. It seems that that's kind of the general understanding of that topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it'd be Makar.
Now,
Okay.
I'm just going to interject before we move on from Landeskog. Do you think if he does take the Carey Price kind of road to glory there, do you think he'll move into a front office role after that? You think he'll still stay in hockey?
I don't know. That's a tough one to gauge because he's got 2 young kids, and I think he kind of would want to be a part of their lives for a little while. But I could see it maybe a few years down the line, but maybe not right away. He's still so young and doesn't necessarily need to get that part of his life started right away.
Mm-hmm.
So last tough question, and then we have some softballs for you. Looking at the cap space, Puckpedia at least has the Avalanche projected cap space at negative 7.5 million. Now there's a lot of things, moving around, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But let's pretend Landeskog doesn't come back. So I'll remove him from the situation. You still have Wood and Colton that could come back any moment. How do you think the Avalanche will navigate the cap issue?
I have no idea. Without Cap Geek anymore or whatever, with Cap Friendly, it's just so hard to tell anymore.
I have another one for you. I could send it to you. A good one.
It's just... So I think they put Colton on LTIR last week, but he's going to come back at the end of this road trip,
that's going to... That's like a $4 million.
Yeah, so I think what they would probably do is just put Wood there because Wood's supposed to miss a significant amount of time. Like he might be done for the year for all we know. Like the Avs just aren't very serious. Like they just don't give us super detailed injury updates. But we had just heard that it's pretty significant. So that's 2.5 there. So it's going to be tough for them to navigate no matter what. If they make any trade, they're going to have to probably get rid of a contract in the process. But that's why they hired the guy who used to work for the the director at the NHL this summer. I think they saw these cap issues coming and they hired a big math whiz to kind of come in and handle them. So it's going to be tough for them to handle all that stuff. But they're doing between game days, they're sending guys to the AHL and banking cap space and doing all this stuff. So they're doing what they can. It's just that they know it's going to be tight and it's going to be tough to add.
I think it actually makes Colorado like an ironic trade deadline seller, but not in the sense of we're giving up, we're just selling to try and get stuff back for the future. It's more of like we're selling so we can bring good guys back into our contracts and be cap complacent or compliant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had kind of talked about Miles Wood maybe would be that guy because he makes $2.5 million in his fourth liner. But now he's hurt, and that $2.5 million might just go away anyway. So who knows?
Let's go to some softball questions. I'll start you off. Something that I've heard some Avalanche fans say, specifically Brandon, the guy I mentioned earlier. He has some thoughts about this, and I want to know your thoughts. What would you think if Utah went with the Yetis as their branding?
I mean, I wouldn't care. It doesn't bother me, but
yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be kind of fun personally, because I think they want to create a rivalry there. That's an hour away, an hour flight. So, and I went to Salt Lake City last month, and I'll go again next month when they go. But like, I think that's just a natural rivalry that they would want to take, and what a way to do that than just piss everyone off by taking a name
Right?
that used to be on the Avs jerseys.
Love it.
Do you have a preference? Like not preference, but like an opinion on what you think they should go with?
No, Yeti sounds fine to me. Like I don't even know what they're up with. Like I wouldn't even care if they stayed with the hockey club.
I
Like, don't
agree.
even
I like
worry about
that.
that stuff.
Keep it the hockey club.
And I'm going to go a little bit off our script because I always find it fascinating. We are a quarter of the way through the season now, and now's like everyone kind of gets serious. Like these are what the teams are going to look like. How do you see the Stanley Cup Finals? Our East, our West teams. Like who do you see in those two spots based off of the season so far?
Oh boy, the season so far. I'm not a Winnipeg believer. Like I think they've kind of already started to fall back down to earth a little bit.
Agreed.
I agree.
Minnesota's up there too, but I also don't believe in them very much. I'm trying to think who's even in the Pacific Division is just bad.
It is.
Yep. I do kind of always default to Dallas. Like I think Dallas is good, and I think Edmonton will figure things out. So like I could see those two kind of meeting again, and then the East. Oh boy, Rangers are
Don't
falling
even
apart, too.
talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Rangers fan, maybe don't listen here. But I picked the Hurricanes to make the finals like 4 years in a row, and I can't. I don't know if I can do it anymore.
They won't win a game anyway.
Yeah.
They won't win a
always
game anyway. So
hurt me, so I'll go with the Devils.
But it's a safe pick.
Yeah.
Either way, I was going to be
There's
upset.
I think we're at the point now where there's just no truly great teams in the NHL, so it's just very difficult to pick. Like I think that 2022 Avs team was probably one of the better teams the last 20 years. After that, it's just been like, okay, like Vegas winning. Even then, I didn't think they were like an elite team.
It's pretty much just like a dark horse race. Who's going to be the dark horse?
I don't hate that though.
Yeah, and I mean Florida definitely could do it again, but this is their third year in a row where they've went to the finals twice, and I think that eventually is going to wear on them. Like they did not look like the same team when the Avs saw them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
They looked just fine against the Canes last week.
I mean, they could easily go on a run. That's just a well-built team.
The Canes
and with a great coach with Paul Maurice too. So
the Canes looked just fine against the Kraken the other night too. So
anyways, moving on. That's enough from Jesse. We saw that you are a huge James Bond fan.
Yeah, I have a James Bond shirt on.
nice.
I love it too. Who is the best Bond, and why is it Pierce Brosnan? Because honestly, that is.
Oh, he's got different opinion.
He's not even in my top three.
Wow.
So,
it's okay.
Okay.
Amanda's a Canes fan. She has poor opinions.
no,
This interview was great. Good night, everyone. Bye.
no, I am a Sean Connery guy. I grew up with him. I think Daniel Craig is right there with him, and I think Timothy Dalton was awesome. He just kind of got screwed over in the movies. So those are my top three, and Sean Connery is like, when I read the books, I actually think more Daniel Craig, just because I think he kind of goes off the books. So it's between those two guys.
I love it. Amanda's wrong again. Great.
I also think Pierce got screwed on some of his movies too. Like some of them are just really badly written, especially the last one he did.
Unfortunately.
So, working with an NHL team, you get to travel quite a bit, I would imagine. Where's your favorite arena and just your favorite place to visit in general?
Not Dallas. I was just in Dallas, and I don't like that city. It's too spread out. Like it's like gas stations, like 7-Eleven closed at midnight. It didn't make any sense.
Oh, I know what that's like.
Going on there.
Wait, what time does it close there?
It doesn't close.
24/7.
Yeah.
Because I asked because that's my issue when I travel west. I feel like everything closes so early, but when I'm here, I feel like everything's open late.
Yeah, 7-Eleven doesn't close here. As far as cities I've gone to, I liked Madison Square Garden, but I was partial when the Avs played Seattle. Like I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. Like just walking around that city was fun, and I thought the arena was really well done too.
It is, yeah.
So I think between Seattle and New York, and I'm excited. I'm going to be going to like Nashville and checking out their arena in a couple months. So those are the two ones I would say. Dallas, I didn't like. Wasn't a huge fan of LA. Trying to think. Actually, Winnipeg is a lot better than people give it credit for. Maybe because I didn't go in January. I went in April, but it's just the atmosphere there. It's just you can't match that.
So on a map, it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. Is it really in the middle of nowhere?
It is. Because at the time there were no direct flights from Denver to Winnipeg, so we had to fly into Fargo, North Dakota, and drive.
Wow!
And it's there's nothing during that drive. So yeah, it is in the middle of nowhere, but there's good food up there, so that's partially what I base some things on too.
It's funny because I like traveling, and I'm trying to knock off all the arenas, and I would actually agree, arena-wise, Dallas is awful. I go to all these arenas, and I'm like, wow, the American Airlines Center sucks. Like, it seems like every arena has a Chick-fil-A, except the American Airlines Center. That's how it feels. Or just food options. And then I think Philly. Have you been to Philly?
Not yet, no.
I think Philly's probably the best that I've been to.
I would agree. Yeah.
Food. It's all about the food.
It is. Madison Square Garden was good for that. There's some good food in there.
There's
and
some good
always
food
around the arena too.
Yeah. I was gonna say there was a bar I went to last time I was there, and it was the food, the experience, the atmosphere. New York City's just crazy for all of that.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw one last softball hockey question in. Who is your favorite team to watch play the Avs? As far as like rivalry, or it's like the most exciting game to see?
Usually Avalanche Edmonton is a lot of fun. I think up until that game last week, it was like 5 straight games had gone to overtime between the two teams. Like they're usually tight. They're usually quick games. Like there's just so much high-end talent on the ice there. So I would probably go with them. Like the Avs just see them a lot. The games against Vegas aren't super exciting because Vegas just doesn't play the most exciting brand of hockey. Like they like to grind it hours. The Avs want to get up and go. So I think that's why it always works with Edmonton, where both teams just want to fly around the ice.
Yeah. Now, before we let you go, I'm hoping you get a chance to look at the rosters. Who do you think's going to win the Four Nations tournament?
I'm going to go USA just because in a short tournament like that, I think goaltending is going to be the difference, and I do not trust any of those Canada goalies. With my dark horse being, I think, Finland, actually. I think Finland's got a decent forward group. Their defense is a little messy, but UC Saros is probably used to playing behind that at this point.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. Jeez. They need to do something there, too.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, Evan. Very much appreciated. Yeah. Where can people find you?
Just on X and Blue Sky. I'm Evan Rawal, so that's where you'll find me at Denver Gazette. So covering the Avs here, and yeah,
that's EVANRAWAL.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.
So that was our interview with Evan Rawal of the Denver Gazette. Thank you so much again, Evan, for doing that. And it looks like you shared it for us too. So hell yeah. Thank you for doing that as well.
That was awesome. He had a lot of good information, especially breaking down that trade with Wedgwood, kind of giving us the general feel for the team. It's always nice to get an insider's opinion on that.
Yeah. So if you're new to the channel, please follow us. We're on X, we're on Facebook and YouTube at Top Shelf Dusters. We have a live stream every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm in Central, so I have to think about it every
9
time.
9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m.
9
Eastern.
p.m. Eastern.
There you go.
8 p.m. Central.
For someone obsessed with time zones, you really struggle.
I really do. And then you can follow us on X, Facebook, at Top Shelf Dusters. You can send us an email to ask questions, give us questions to answer, or topics to talk about. Our email is topshelfdusters@gmail.com. And typically we're here with Amanda, but
thank God she's not
Happy
here.
Birthday, Amanda. And also thank God she's not here.
Let's hope for
Grandma.
let's hope for no more New York Rangers trades, please. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it. Have a good night.